So we all probably know by now that Joe Biden's domestic policy hasn't been all that much better than Trump's. He's went back on the $2,000 checks. Now it's 1,400. Doesn't support student loan debt relief. Is not pushing for the $15 minimum wage, etc., etc. Really, really shitty. Biden administration has shown themselves to be no friend of the working class, and that extends to the continuing Trump's disastrous criminal murderous foreign policy. And case in point, Venezuela, from Mark Weisbrot on Twitter. White House statement yesterday: Venezuela poses an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security of the U.S. It's clearly false, but legally necessary in order to continue Trump sanctions that are killing Venezuelan civilians every day. I mean, oh God, it's not surprising in the elitists, but still disgusting on an exponential level. I mean, for fuck's sake, these sanctions, and again, this was, when was this article came out? In 2019. U.S. sanctions killed over 40,000 Venezuelans since 2017. And again, this was almost 2 years ago exactly, April 2019. That number has obviously risen quite dramatically since then. And because we're living in a global pandemic, this number could frankly be in the hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans dead because of this illegal, murderous sanctions that the U.S. government, this rogue state, has placed on the government of Venezuela simply for the fact that they don't like who their democratically elected president is, because they're socialist leaning. They're actually looking out for the best interest of the working people in the country. Speaking of Nicolas Maduro, and it's fucking disgusting. Like, how is this any fucking different than Trump's foreign policy? It's not. Same with Venezuela. Sanctions still there. Iran not rejoining the Iranian nuclear deal. Sanctions on Syria. Still supporting the Saudi-led genocide against Yemen. And then the airstrikes in Syria as well. Another violation of both U.S. and international law. All the same shit happened under Trump is still happening now under the Biden administration. It's fucking disgusting. Exclusive: Biden in no rush to lift Venezuela sanctions, seeks serious steps. I mean, Jesus Christ. This is the kind of shit that makes me frankly disgusted to be a U.S. citizen, honestly. There's Maduro. He used to be a bus driver, actually. And I saw on Vijay Prashad's Twitter, they were driving around in a bus, and Nicolas Maduro was at the wheel. A real man of the working class there, as opposed to this corporatist piece of shit, Joe Biden, who, again, his foreign policy, from everything I can see, is basically like that with Trump's. Almost fucking identical. It's so disgusting. Look, and then this is what somebody in the Biden admin is trying to say. Maduro's socialist government has been actively preventing the delivery of humanitarian assistance. You know what you want? The Biden administration, again, if they really were concerned about humanitarian aid and the most vulnerable and marginalized people in Venezuela, they would have lifted the sanctions day fucking one. They didn't do that. They're still trying to prop up fucking Juan Guaido, the puppet of the U.S., even though he was like this very obscure figure in Venezuelan politics until the U.S., Canada, other kind of Western governments propped him up to try to replace Maduro, again, because he is socialist leaning, because he's not going to let these multinational corporations come into Venezuela, exploit the natural resources there, exploit the people for their own benefit, and not give anything back. That's the real fucking reason why they don't like Maduro and the Maduro government, because they aren't going to be pawns of the U.S. empire and these other Western imperialist countries. It's fucking disgusting. Helps to see, I mean, I don't know what else is there to say. I don't know how you could be defending Joe Biden at this point. Completely backed away from all of his policies domestically, whether it's fighting for $15 minimum wage. They fought harder for near fucking Tandon to become director of the OMB than they did to pass a minimum wage, which they could have fucking done. Though, again, just a complete fucking hack. Complete capitalist hack, Joe Biden and his administration. And then again, the foreign policy, more of the same, which spells more death and destruction to all these countries and the most vulnerable, marginalized under the boot of the fucking U.S. empire and U.S. imperialism and these other Western powers. It's fucking disgusting. Fucking disgusting. Like the video if you like the damn video. Subscribe for more content. Peace. Much love. All power to the people.